Hi, my name is Mark Bernat. I'm a monetary economist. In this video, I want to talk about BRICS. BRICS, the hypothetical non-existent currency. I want to talk about it in relation to its rise and potentially decline and meaninglessness. BRICS is, as you know, is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and is also countries expanding. Great countries like Ethiopia, maybe Turkey, Argentina, and even Saudi Arabia wants to throw its, hat into the ring. So what does this mean for the United States and Europe and the free democracies that depend on oil? We're going to talk about the petrodollar. I'm going to tell you a story, so stay with me. First, let's put it in perspective. Right now, the U.S. dollar accounts for 89% of all foreign currency transactions. The euro, about 35%. You may say, that equals 124%. But when you're doing currency transactions, there's two sides. It has to equal 200%. The rest is really the Great British Pound, the Swiss franc, the Australian dollar, the Canadian dollar, great currencies like that. Maybe Chinese currency yuan is about, let's say it's 2%. But it's not very significant. And it's kind of shocking because all you hear on YouTube and the news and economists was China, the rise of China. But the reality is the US dollar is 89% and the euro is 35%. And that's where most of the world's foreign currency transactions occur. You've got a lot of other good currencies like the Polish zloty that is very stable. And I would even put that above almost any other country in the group, including, Russia and all these other countries that are claiming to have great strength. So let's take an assessment, a high-level assessment. Life is pretty good in Poland, pretty good in Europe. I'm a dual citizen. I live in America and Florida, but I also live in Poland. I go back and forth, a little bit of complexities, family issues and things that, allows me to visit family here and visit family there. So life is cushy here. Life is very nice. In free, transparent democracies of Europe, you're living a very high quality of life, comparable to the U.S. In Europe, if you're living in Sweden, Denmark, Germany, you vacation in Italy, you vacation in Greece, Spain in the winter, you've got imported goods from all over the world. It's a very high quality of life in Europe. It's a very high quality of life in America. People that are throwing their hat into the ring of BRICS, these are basically countries that are in decline. Europe and America is on the rise. Russia, it's in decline. Serious geopolitical issues. It is basically projecting this Russia big, Russia strong, but I would say it's one of the weakest countries in the world economically. China, Evergrande, real estate problems, debt problems. You could even say demographics, but I'm not a big believer in that. Structural problems, command and control economies never work as efficiently. People are friend sourcing. All the clothes I pick up now are from countries like Vietnam and Cambodia. They're not from China. India, huge problems. Don't even want to get into it. Turkey, Argentina, what do they have? Like 100% inflation every time you go to the restaurant. Prices double. So these are the countries that are failing. Ethiopia wants to join. All the countries that are in decline want to join. All the countries that are rising, like free democracies in the world, transparent democracies, great countries that want to make the world a better place, are increasing. If anything, the euro and the dollar are just going to be exchanging a little bit in terms of their power. And remember, 1898, Knut Wicksell, he calls money a cipher. Cipher means just an abstract representation, a medium of exchange. It doesn't really affect, if it's stable, the real economy. So what does it matter if things are done in dollars or euros? But BRICS, we're going to talk about BRICS. Let me tell you a story first. 1966, I'm dating myself a little bit, there was a movie that came out called The Russians Are Coming, The Russians Are Coming. It's about this Russian submarine that wants to get a glimpse of this great America. So the commander's looking at this great America off the shores of, let's say, Boston, Plaktikon, Habad Yad, really Gloucester Islands. And it has some engine trouble, runs aground. I forget the details, but they don't want to phone Moscow and say that they messed up. And, so they go ashore and they have this plan that whenever they're going to try to repair it or tow it out or something, whenever they see somebody on the street, they practice the line. And the line was, emergency, everyone to get from street. Emergency, everyone to get from street. They tried it out on a few people. They got some odd looks. Some kids ran away after their mom. Dogs were barking at them. But 1966, or today, that is the Russian mentality. Command and control. You just feel like everybody's just going to obey you. You give a directive. You sign a decree. BRICS is it now. BRICS is going to be great. And that's the Russian mentality today. We're just going to tell you what to do, and it's going to be the reality. Just like in the movie The Russians Are Coming, they were just going to tell people that there's an emergency, and everybody was just going to obey them. Just through a decree, signing decrees, shaking hands. That is the mentality of the Russian culture in a despotic form. And that's the way it exists today. It's ridiculous. It's nonsensical. It's a satirical comedy, that movie, because of the ridiculousness of it. So, now that you have it straight, what is money? They can't just decree BRICS as money. 1871, Karl Menger, Austrian economist, money is spontaneously or historically has some precedence. It's not something decreed top down. You can say, well, the US dollar is decreed, but it is and it isn't, because it has historical precedence. I don't think it violates Karl Menger's understanding of in his book on money, 1871. It's a very good book. You can read the subtle nuances of that book and understand what is money. So there's no way that these currencies, these countries can come together and form some kind of currency. It's not a currency now. It's an abstract idea. Well, you say they're going to be the one of the main underlying premises of currencies is, when you're working internationally, was like in the 1871, 1870s, the international gold standard, you had to coordinate monetary and fiscal policy. That works fine because you have, America, England, France, they were coordinating policies, and the international gold standard worked quite well for a while. But even with these honest, democratic, transparent countries, it eventually fell apart for various reasons. So how do you expect non-transparent countries like China and Russia, Ethiopia, Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil, how do you expect these countries to coordinate monetary policy? I think they're talking about a fixed exchange rate. For that, all central banks of these countries must coordinate policy to continue parity. And I think in the gold standard, it was like $20.15 gold ounces, whatever. You can look it up. But there is no way that you get these bunch of countries in decline, despotic countries, not transparent countries, working on fixed exchange rates. Obviously you have floating exchange rates now, and better is fixed exchange rates, because it would be like if the euro and the dollar were at parity with the Canadian dollar, let's say, we all pegged it, then it would all be one. Foreign exchange would be a lot easier. But they can't coordinate their own countries. I mean, look at Russia. On one hand, they're just printing money, creating inflation, and Elvira is trying to jack interest rates. It's 19%, 20% in the Russian central bank. They're just working against each other internally in Moscow with this monetary policy. How do you think they're going to coordinate all this BRICS? So BRICS is nothing more than just like, the commander of the Russian submarine saying, the Russians are coming, saying, emergency, everyone to get from street, and expect people to respond. It's just a decree. It's just something as a pipe dream. So what are the implications? And you might say, well, what about the petrodollar? The petrodollar might be, oil, if anything, is on the decline. You take oil prices, 2008, it was like over 100. And, you say, wow, okay, today it might be like $73. But if you put in 2008 CPI deflator and you put it, it's like $43 a barrel. Oil is continuously declining in price in real dollars. And you always have to look at real dollars. because we're not looking and talking about nominal figures here. You know, if we're talking about nominal figures, I'm like a Turkish billionaire. I'm a Russian billionaire in rubles and Turkish lira. We're not talking about that. So prices of oil are continuously declining. I think it's waning. And it's because of renewable energies, the fracking revolution, technology, diversification of sources. More supply equals, price going down, even if the quantity goes up. So you got these renewable energies. So how much does the United States get? I mean, what do we get? Like 3% from Iraq, maybe 5% from Saudi Arabia, maybe. Everything's going domestic. So, when people say, oh, the petrodollar is going to be replaced, the BRICS is going to replace the petrodollar, again, they're just spewing nonsense. They're not economists. Maybe they're YouTube economists, which is probably the worst combination. People just getting on there and saying, I'm an economist. I actually studied most of my life economics. I mean, I'm still in school doing research, and, I'm just keep on going. And that's the spirit you have to be. I've read the books of classical economics from the 1800s, okay, from the 1900s. I've read so much literature, and I understand these and the subtle dynamics. And I'm telling you, Europe is on the rise. America is on the rise. Technology, it dwarfs any Malthusian predictions. Technology always dwarfs these Malthusian predictions. You can't even comprehend it. I get to, haven't been to Poland in a while. I get to Poland, it's super rich. And to 2025, the minimum wage in Poland is going to be higher than the minimum wage in the U.S., plus you get benefits and pension. So you just can't comprehend how rich Europe is getting, and America is still on that track of greatness. And when you compare it to the BRICS countries, then you put it in perspective. Because remember, money is a cipher. That's what Knut Wicksell said. You got to measure the wealth of nations, Adam Smith, by how productive and efficient countries are, and that's related to transparency, free markets, division of labor, all the things I've talked about in my previous videos. So anybody that tells you that BRICS, just tell them the story about the 1966 movie, The Russians Are Coming. It's just some sort of fantasy, delusional thinking that Russia or China is going to be, dominating when you've got these countries of innovation, Europe, the land of Da Vinci and Michelangelo, America, the land of Henry Ford, just rising and continuing to rise to greatness. And it's not because the people are any different. It's just simply free, transparent democracies, people trying to make the world a better place in this conscious capitalism. And the BRICS countries, they're the countries going down. So I suspect the euro and the dollar gaining more prevalence, maybe making room a little bit for, Canadian dollar, Polish zloty, Swiss franc, Australian dollar, Japanese currencies. But I wouldn't worry about BRICS. BRICS is nothing, okay? So that's the decline of the BRICS countries. They're going to continue to decline and slip into chaos. Anybody that joins it is like the kiss of death. And you say, oh, that country is going to decline, especially monetarily. Just look at Argentine inflation or Turkish inflation. And the countries that don't join it and just keep on going by their business, like the countries in Europe, great countries, beautiful countries, Denmark, Netherlands, Germany, France, Britain, America, Canada. These are the countries that are going to be on the rise for the next 50 years. So that's the story of BRICS. My name is Mark Vernot. I'm a monetary economist. Have a great day. Thank you very much.